No, it's not. All right, so let's talk about this PewDiePie situation, because everyone in the chat they're pretty much aware of it.
Do they want to hear about PewDiePie?
For those that don't know, I guess sometime earlier this year, PewDiePie had made a video, and in that video, he paid a couple of Indian guys on Fiverr.
Yep.
And I'm not sure if they were in India or
what
not.
you do is you just put it up on Fiverr, and if anybody wants to take it.
Yeah.
So it happened to been two guys in India decided, yeah, we'll do that for money.
Right, yeah. And they held up a sign, and someone videoed them with the sign, I think next to a road, like some kind of road or something. And the sign said, "Death to all Jews." And PewDiePie, the joke... Right, so let's explain what that joke. Let's
This is a very, very old radio bit.
Let's unpack that joke for a minute.
What's the joke?
The joke, the gag, the bit is to get someone to go out someplace in public and to do or say something outrageous that you in the studio react to. It's a bit that, I mean, like, I think we've even done stuff that's kind of close to that.
It's basically what we do on this show, but with stuff that actually happens, not stuff that we pay people to do.
Right. For example, Opie and Anthony. Opie and Anthony used to send people out to the site of live reporters, right? Like live local news reporters, and they'd have something horrendous written on a sign, and they'd try to get the sign with the Opie and Anthony sticker somewhere in there. Howard Stern did a version of this, Baba Booey, Howard Stern's penis, Baba Booey, all of that whole thing. That's that joke. That's the format of the joke. So the setup is, and I guess there is a little bit more to it because Fiverr, and I didn't realize this until recently, but Fiverr is an Israeli-owned company.
Oh,
but PewDiePie had some issues with them banning someone for doing something for his channel, earlier. So I think that this was an attempt to try to annoy Fiverr, right?
okay.
So that's the gag, right? Like you put it out there, you see who would do it. Because it's on Fiverr's platform, it becomes problematic for them now. They've got to come in and enforce it. And really, like, it seemed to me, on a dead read of it, to be trying to rattle Fiverr and get under their skin more than it was an attempt to genuinely spread any kind of anti-Semitic message.
Yeah.
And I'm now, don't get me wrong, I'm not defending him or the joke or any of the words used in the joke, any of the sentiment used in the joke. I don't know if PewDiePie is a secret Nazi or not, and frankly, I don't give a shit. My read of the situation was that it was a joke, that it was clearly a joke. The setup for it was as a joke. And my thing is, I defend humor, because when free speech gets attacked, generally the first place that they'll go is for humor, because humor pushes ideas, thoughts, concepts, and speech to its extremes. I mean, and sometimes it does that on purpose. Lenny Bruce is a great example of this. George Carlin is a great example of this, pushing the boundary of taste and language to be able to make a point. And that is what comedy does.
Yeah. Now, one of the big differences here is that obviously PewDiePie isn't as skilled at doing that as what all of those people are. A lot of fallout over it, though. Lot of fallout over this.
Big time.
And the way that the fallout happened was really weird, too. Now one of the things that I'd like to add is I think we all here believe in free speech, right? But also, obviously, along with that comes consequences. You can say and do whatever you want, but you also have to be equipped to deal with the consequences.
You have to be ready to accept those consequences.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
So in the end, what ended up happening was he lost his big deal with Disney.
Right.
Disney cut him out. YouTube also removed him from their premium advertising thing. So you're not going to see PewDiePie pop up in any of their little ads and stuff like that now. Right.
Right.
And so I think one of the biggest discussions now was that joke, or what he did, joke or not, was that enough, or was that, justified of him being dropped from all of those platforms.
Well, I don't see. Here's the thing, because the news story, if you pay attention to the news cycle, the news story was not PewDiePie makes an anti-Semitic joke.
It just went right to
it was Disney dropping him. That was the story. That was the story that penetrated with people on an organic level, where they were sharing it to their Facebook pages, where they were discussing it. It wasn't the actual bit itself that caused the backlash. So there's a pretty important element that needs to be discussed here, and that's I think it was the New York Times getting involved, and they had picked up on the video, because the video, there was controversy, there was backlash among PewDiePie's viewers and PewDiePie's audience.
Probably lost subs, probably lost viewers because of that.
Absolutely.
Probably also gained some, not necessarily because they agree with that, but because people love drama.
Right.
People want to see drama unfold.
And outrageous things are funny. Flat out. We do outrageous things. We say outrageous things on this show all the time because it's funny.
Case in point, you bit the tip off a dick.
Exactly. We did that earlier. That was fine. To everyone watching this broadcast, totally acceptable, right? But you throw race in there, you throw culture in there, people start getting their defenses raised really quick, especially right now, because the political climate is so fucking weird. But at the end of the day, there is no way that you can walk away from the read of this situation going, well, it was PewDiePie's genuine attempt to try to bring out some negative sentiment against Jewish people. I don't see that at all.
Yeah, one of the things that he's being criticized for, too, on why this didn't, because I think that this was very, very poorly executed. You know, I understand the bit. I see where it came from. Die Hard even did it. In Die Hard 2, they even took, example of this bit and used it in there. But the problem with PewDiePie was it was not executed in a way that you can look at it and just straight up go, oh yeah, that's a joke. He tried to defend himself by saying that the whole point of doing it was to showcase the absurdity of people who actually believe in this.
Sure.
I think one of the reasons that failed is that nowadays there are actually people who believe in this that aren't afraid to go out there and do that. So no, you know what? Going out with a sign that says death to all Jews, that is not intrinsically a joke, because people are actually doing that stuff.
Yeah.
He's been criticized for not having a very consistent form of humor and a consistent character that he portrays in his videos. So it's hard for his audience to understand, oh, he's joking right now. Oh, he's in character right now. I think a lot of people on our show, they know when you're in, a Nero rage mode. Not to take a lot of things that he says seriously.
No, I don't think they do. I think I would, if
new people don't, but people who watch the show, yeah.
But that's the thing, though, is that we're talking about new people because, look, I'm not a fan of PewDiePie's. I've never been a part of his audience. I don't know his humor. I can't tell you anything about him. I couldn't tell you if he's a secret Nazi, nor do I really frankly care. I don't think he is. Just based on my read of this, it seems pretty absurd to make the logical jump that this guy is proliferating hate speech on any kind of level. It's a joke. And the thing is I'll defend jokes all day, every day, under any circumstance, because anything can be funny. The context is what drives that. Now, to go back to the New York Times article, the story was about Disney dropping PewDiePie,
which they hadn't done when the New York Times wrote their article.
Hang on. So organically, that bit didn't have the backlash among people that it did among his audience, or so it took the New York Times kind of blowing it up and making a big deal about it, and then directly reaching out to his advertisers for the story. Now, let me explain a little bit of subtext about what's going on there. So, when you talk about like activist journalists, you're talking about this kind of shit where they think they're exposing something, but the context and the story, the narrative that they end up weaving when they reach out to advertisers or employers is much, much darker, much more sinister, and much, much more conspiracy laden than the actual truth of the situation is. I've seen it happen. I've watched colleagues do it. I've worked in public radio, in a newsroom. I've worked in commercial radio. I've seen this behavior happen. And when I look at that, when I see, well, no one was really reacting to it until
New York Times said, what does Disney think about these things?
Exactly. Now Disney is feeling some heat and pressure from the media.
They've been put in the spotlight. If they don't do anything, does that mean that Disney's okay with it?
Exactly. And well, I mean, Disney doesn't really have a whole lot of room to be calling people anti-Semitic, but they also are going to be very quick to distance themselves from anyone who is currently getting that label. So then the news story spins out of control. It hits everyone's Facebook feeds. It hits every one of the major gaming news establishments. And now suddenly people are forming opinions about PewDiePie going, oh, well, fuck him. He's a Nazi. Fuck him. He wants to kill Jews. Like, no, that's not what happened. And now this big, gigantic game of telephone ends up happening. And you know what? Like all these calls about fake news. Like, I think this is some of it right here in front of us. Like, that's very clearly a journalist who took it upon themselves to be an activist and call out something that they either didn't have the full context to, or were just being a really bad sport about, or had no humor about,
and thus ended up creating their own headline, because once Disney drops him, people want to hear about that.
Exactly. And the thing is I don't think that people have as nuanced of a view on this as they should. They just see it as, fuck this guy. He said some shit and he deserves to be punished. I don't think that that's true, especially in the context of trying to tell a joke or make a point. When you take something completely out of context and warp it like that, I mean, because every article that I saw that addressed this had some kind of like warped context on it, and it wasn't just a straight recitation of facts and what happened.
I feel like I had to read 3 or 4 different articles, and every time I read a new article, it added a new angle to the story. Like, yeah, first it was going around, Disney drops him over these anti-Semitic stuff,
and this is why I didn't pile on this initial backlash, because I've seen this happen time and time again to not necessarily like gaming personalities or gaming people, but like to people in my industry, or in people, sports athletes who this has happened to.
Yeah, I mean, had the Times not pointed this out, not called Disney out for it, would it have even happened? Because like you said, didn't hear nothing about it anywhere before that.
Yeah, it got no traction. And that's the thing, is that that's all it should have been. It should have been a dumb joke that didn't go anywhere, or that he lost subscribers over. No one deserves to lose their job or lose economic opportunities because they're trying to be funny.
Because of maybe a failed attempt at a joke.
Exactly. And now we get to this whole idea, well, is PewDiePie a comedian? Because he's on YouTube. And you know what? I happen to be of the opinion that it doesn't matter what your medium is, whether it's a stage, or whether it's a podcast, or whether it's Twitter, or whether it's YouTube. Your medium is your medium. If you're trying to be funny and if you're trying to tell jokes, you have to take chances.
That's true.
You have to take chances, because if you don't, you end up doing stuff that you don't believe in. And who wants to do that? Like, you do comedy, you do this kind of like pale imitation of comedy, and that's not fun. There's nothing fun about that. And I would hate to see creative people feel restricted because of something like this, if they thought they had a joke that they could tell, and maybe the read on it is a little bit more complex than your average, setup and punchline. I definitely do not want to see creativity like that stifled for any reason. And you know what? This does come down to a free speech issue. It really, really does. We want to hear from you guys. By the way, phone lines are open. Final Encountercast on Skype, 810-207-1764. How do you feel about the PewDiePie retaliation? We haven't even discussed YouTube yet.
Yeah.
because YouTube becoming involved is a whole nother layer of this layer cake. I saw someone in the chat, I'm not sure who it was, say that he should have been straight up banned from the platform and not just having his economic opportunities taken away. Okay. Let's
unwrap address that. In conjunction with that, someone right here said, Jimmy Hardcore saying PewDiePie, creative, lol. This isn't even about PewDiePie anymore.
Right.
We're not talking about specifically him. We're talking about what this as a concept means for anybody who wants to tell a joke like this.
Yeah.
Jim Jeffries, who has a great special on YouTube, he actually has a bit where he talks about how much trouble he got in back in Australia because they took one line of a series of jokes, put that out of context in an article and said, Jim Jeffries is a rapist. And he goes on to say that that's not fair because the whole idea behind comedy is the way you say something shapes it into what it means.
Right.
You can say the same thing different ways and mean different things, okay?
Absolutely.
That is 100% what comedy means. And when you take it out of their mouth and start putting it on paper, oh my God. It destroys everything.
Yeah. It's super troubling because this is where you see the first constricting of rights when it comes to what you're able to say in public. Mm-hmm. This is always the first the front lines on that battle. And generally, the ones to fire back, the strongest, come out of this community. And again, PewDiePie, whether you like his content or not, whether you like his humor or not, I don't think that it's terribly fair to go, oh yeah, that guy hates Jews, and just like...
Ask yourself this. If that sign, instead of saying death to all Jews, would have said deaf to all Jews, DEAF, would we be having this same conversation? Right? His whole point was he wanted to point out the absurdity and the stupidity of all of it, right?
Sure.
So if they would have walked out with a sign that said deaf to all Jews, obviously we would have went, they're fucking idiots, right?
Yeah.
Would we be sitting here saying that PewDiePie's a Nazi at that point?
Right.
He probably would have, that would have came across a lot better than what, he did and how he did it. And I think that that's a great example of the fact that comedy like this can work, right?
Long-time listeners of this show know that some of the funnier things that we've done, some of the funnier things that I think we've done, like the Ferget bit. Let's say in 5 years, furries now live under some kind of protected status. They get together in a fucking, they get together in a
furry
group.
convent.
Yeah, they get together in a group. They rally the government for fur rights. I don't know what, but like, in 5 years, furries are legitimized in a way that...
As like a Tumblr gender?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And so, you run through my archive of content and you find where, hey, this is where Nate said Ferget. This is where it started.
He's a big CPR fan now. And they're like, 5 years ago, you made a Ferget comment. What do you have to say about that?
Exactly. It's not dissimilar to that. It's not dissimilar. And I don't think that that's terribly fair. I don't think that that's terribly fair to the creator. I don't think it's terribly fair to PewDiePie. I don't think it's terribly fair to creative people because it says that, like, look, the onus is on you. Like, we're going to hold you responsible.
It sets a terrible precedent, too.
Well, and think about, like, comedians, like early road comedians even 10 years ago that would go out and they would test material. What do you hear comedians say is the most important part of learning how to do stand-up comedy? Bombing. That's the most important thing that happens. You go out and you fail a lot, and you fail again and again and again, and by increments you start getting more and more laughs because you start finding where the funny is. And that same process happens on a radio show or a podcast or a YouTube channel. But that immediate reaction, that immediate feedback of whether an audience is laughing or not, whether the air got sucked out of the room with that last joke or not, that is a delayed process. That makes it a lot more tough to find out where exactly the line is, even with your own audience. And our approach has always been, Fuck what the audience line is. We draw our own lines. We don't care what your line of taste is, and if it's a problem, leave. Go.
Yeah,
bye-bye. Not a big deal for us because we got nothing to lose. And it's still the same thing. We've got nothing to lose. Checkpoint's been on 2 different stations. We've seen no money. We've got no money. We've got no compensation for any of that.
Yeah.
So we've got nothing to lose. And I think that when that drives your sense of humor, because the things that I connect to have that same style of humor, whether it be Adult Swim or whether it be Jim Jeffries or whether it be Doug Stanhope, that's the kind of humor that resonates inside of me and that I end up projecting back out into the world. And I think that it is reprehensible to say, think twice about that.
Yeah. Really quick, I want to reiterate, too, that we're not defending whether or not his joke was funny or wasn't funny. We're defending his right to tell a joke,
that's right,
bad or not, and fail at it. DK Donkey Kong says,
what if fail at it on a level where it's organic, the audience responds, or you don't have some element like the New York Times coming in and acting as a third party to alert your sponsors on, oh, look at that content, go fuck yourself.
Because he didn't lose Disney when he made the joke. He lost Disney when the Times magazine pointed this out and then said, how will Disney respond?
Exactly.
DK Donkey Kong says, what if the sign said, let's bomb the USA? Get it? That's funny too. Well, no, it's not. And either was death to all Jews. That's the point. They weren't funny, and people seem to think that, well, because that wasn't funny, that couldn't have been a joke. That wasn't a joke.
Right.
You're a Nazi. Because it wasn't a funny joke. You're right. It wasn't a funny joke. He failed at it, and he has the right to do that.
Right.
Now, granted, we're not saying that he shouldn't get off scot-free. He probably lost subs, lost viewers.
Yeah.
But the joke was not the reason he lost Disney.
Right.
He lost Disney because the New York Times wrote an article later that called them out, and that can't go unignored.
Exactly.
That is definitely a part of the narrative that people have to realize.
Absolutely.
And we're not even saying that Disney can't drop him for it. That's fine. They're a company.
If Disney reached that conclusion on its own, but the thing is that no one's talking about the Times being involved with alerting them, and that is a very crucial part to that story, as you were saying. That's very crucial to know in terms of how this whole thing went down. I mean, you can disagree with the joke all you want. You cannot like the joke all you want. You can think it's not funny all you want. But that doesn't change the fact that the Times got involved, and the Times got involved on an advocacy level, which crosses a journalistic ethical boundary. And as a consequence, this guy lost out on an assload of money and opportunity.
Not that he doesn't still have an assload of money.
Right.
53 million
But now he doesn't
subs.
have 2 assloads. Ooh.
I wonder what kind of idiot would pay to watch drama happen. Oh, wait.
There you go. That's the thing. The same week that this happens, the same week that this whole PewDiePie story erupts, you've got InfoWars tinfoil hat maniac Alex Jones over on his channel saying that Jennifer Lopez, because of her comments at the Grammys, should go get gang raped. Honestly, that was a thing that's... now, you want to talk about a joke versus saying some shit that's in your heart. It's sometimes, I'll grant you, it's a little bit hard to distinguish. Michael Richards, when he got up on stage and had that whole debacle, that whole racist rant that he had, that wasn't an attempt at humor. That was him getting rattled and frustrated and letting some real shit out on stage. When you get rattled and let some real shit out, that's Alex Jones letting some real shit out of his heart. We know that guy has a lot of genuine hatred in his heart, that it's not put on for a bit. Same thing with, a Rush Limbaugh type. Some of it is a bit, some of it's done for attention, but at the end of the day, when you strip that out, and when he says what's actually in his heart, there's some nasty shit there. some really genuinely uncomfortable shit there. And I don't know if PewDiePie is one of those because I'm not exposed to him often enough to be able to give an opinion. I've been exposed to Alex Jones. I spent 2 years watching InfoWars and decided that he was a goddamn maniac. I've spent years listening to Rush Limbaugh. I had to board up his show for 6 months.
Oh, I bet that was fun.
He's a goddamn maniac. That's the shit that resides in his heart. I don't think... my personal opinion of PewDiePie is that that's not what's in his heart. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you've watched more of him. Maybe you've come to a different conclusion. I don't know. That's fair, though. Watching and coming to that conclusion, that's fucking fair. But why PewDiePie making a joke gets more headlines and organic traction on things like Facebook or on social media than Alex Jones legitimately saying some very insane shit, to me, really speaks to the dissonance that is happening right now.
Yeah, it's all about views. Talking about Alex Jones, who probably does this all the time, isn't going to get you as many views as, YouTube's most subscribed star being a Nazi.
I mean, maybe. I don't know. But it seems like if we're distracted by stuff that is clearly humor, if our attention is being torn into places where we're like, yeah, that's a joke. It wasn't a good joke, but that's a joke. And we're sitting here for 40 minutes and unpacking that, and then not actually looking at real hatred on its face and calling that out for what that is. Where's the Wall Street Journal on Alex Jones? Or the New York Times, or wherever. Where are these people calling out Alex Jones's behavior? Because
Wall Street Journal, not the New York Times.
Thank you, Wall Street Journal.
Driving me crazy.
Thanks, Mr. Jack. I slipped up and said it right there. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter where the where the actual stories are coming out from. Where are those major news players? Because the only thing I see about Alex Jones, I mean, I've seen a couple of stories about him on CNN or Fox News, and it's been mixed. It's not calling him out for being crazy or being an asshole. It's mostly like, look at how this guy has been legitimized by the president or something.
And the problem all goes back to, and now I'm bringing up here in the chat, that it's the whole clickbait industry that is the newspaper now. More people, regardless of his 53 million subscribers, more people seeing PewDiePie in the headlines are going to click on that. If I saw the name Alex Jones, I wouldn't click on that. But what the fuck's going on with PewDiePie, though? People are going to click that.
Maybe. I don't know, man. I mean, I think you see any headline where, radio host tells
9/11 joke.
Singer to go get gang raped. I mean, that's pretty extreme.
Yeah, okay, I'd probably click on that, too.
I mean, we're in an entire era of extremes. And when you lock shit down, like when you get more restrictive about language or the things that you can or can't say, I bristle at that big time. I have a big problem with that.
Yeah. So can we talk about YouTube then? Because YouTube.
Let's talk about YouTube.
All right. Yeah. Because like you said earlier, there was a commenter who said YouTube should have just straight up banned him. All right. Now, first thing, you know what? Yes, YouTube is a company, so they can do whatever they want to. Like at the end of the day, they can literally do anything that they want to.
And you're signing up for their rules. Like when you sign up to make a channel, you're signing up to play 100% by their rules. You can appeal decisions if they make a process for that.
Yep.
But at the end of the day, it's their platform. They decide what goes on and what doesn't.
But it's also considered to be a public platform, right? So if they do start going so far as to straight up banning people, when does that become censorship?
It is censorship. It is already censorship. And the thing is that I kind of have to wonder what's going to be the consistency from YouTube. Okay, if they banned PewDiePie for a joke like this, then that's a clear message. Okay, well, any Nazi support, white supremacists, they're going to be kicked off of this platform. But that's clearly not true. Because we know that YouTube as a platform is used for all kinds of stuff.